When Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett made a surprising accusation regarding Donald Trump's relationship with his daughter Ivanka, and even suggested questions about young Barron, the world held its breath. Trump didn't blink. He denied it outright. Ivanka stood solidly by his side. And then Barack Obama, his usual cool demeanor intact, uttered 6 words that chilled the room. "Prove me wrong with a DNA test." The city caught fire with excitement. By nightfall, the sidewalks around the studio swarmed. Cameras popping, reporters pushing for elbow room, bystanders buzzing with gossip. Something momentous was on the verge of happening. Inside, the air was charged with tension. Producers rushed along the floor, readjusting lights and muttering into headsets. The crowd occupied every seat, their conversation echoing off the studio walls. They all shared one question. What would Obama say this evening? The stage shone in blinding lights. 3 chairs in a row, water glasses perched perfectly on the table. The host was there first, smiling, welcoming the audience. Warm applause engulfed the room. But the moment itself had yet to come. Then he uttered these words, "Ladies and gentlemen, Barack Obama." Obama strode in with his hallmark tranquil pace, received by deafening applause. He nodded, sat down, and for a moment it was just another prime time sit down. But that fantasy was fleeting. The host's next sentence sliced through the din like a knife. "And joining us tonight, President Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump." The studio gasped. Cameras whirled toward the side stage. Trump entered, chin high, each step purposeful. Following closely on his heels, Ivanka, elegant, surveying the audience with practiced ease. The applause faltered, a mix of cheers and whispers. Obama arched his eyebrows slightly but remained calm, giving only the hint of a smile as the Trump sat down next to him. A bizarre moment. Obama, Trump, and Ivanka, shoulder to shoulder, live on television. Former competitors turned unwilling co-stars. The host attempted to diffuse the tension with wide, open-ended questions. What is leadership to you? How do you measure legacy? Obama went first. Subdued, thoughtful service duty, the greater good. His words were heavy without condescension. Trump came next, boisterous, aggressive, stare fixed on the camera, strength, victoriousness. Defiance in the face of naysayers. His voice commanded the room, hands slicing the air with emphasis. Ivanka's turn, facile, polished, soothing. She defined leadership as loyalty, as being there for family in rough times, a gentler counterpoint to her father's blaze. For an instant, it was decorous, strained, perhaps, but polite. Obama provided considered retorts. Trump responded with emotion. Ivanka bridged the gap gingerly, inserting herself between them. But the crowd could feel it, an undertow, a tempest seething just beneath the surface. It wasn't just about politics or heritage. Something much more intimate was brewing. The host looked at his notes, paused, then leaned forward, his voice lowered, demanding quiet. There have been whispers about the allegations made by Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, allegations implying strange dynamics in the Trump family, even questioning Barron Trump's biological relationship. The words hit like a grenade. The room came to a standstill. Gasps were heard. Obama's eyes narrowed. Trump's jaw clenched. Ivanka's lips formed a thin line. This was not an interview anymore. The studio had become an arena. And what was to happen was to shake the nation to its foundations. The host's words dangled like a storm cloud. He recited the assertion again. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had come forward with evidence that cast doubt not just over Barron Trump's biological connection, but also over latent dynamics in the Trump family. The studio held its breath. Not a word, not even the air conditioner's hum appeared to linger. It was as if everyone in the room had collectively held their breath. Donald Trump broke the silence first. His face went red, his jaw muscles clenching, and then splat. His hand crashed onto the armrest of his chair. The sudden snap made the audience jump. His voice thundered, harsh and demanding. "Jasmine Crockett," he growled. "Let me make one thing clear. Her history is one of dubious incidents. She is not pursuing truth. She is going for attention like she always does. These falsehoods are merely another assault on a family that has been besieged for decades. The audience burst into applause, some applauding encouragingly, others gasping or whispering in dismay. Cameras closed in on Trump's hot face. He hunched over the desk, finger wagging as if Crockett herself were seated across from him. Before the host could answer, Ivanka leaned forward. Her voice wasn't loud, but it sliced through the din like glass. "These accusations aren't rooted in facts," she said firmly. "They're fabricated claims meant to damage our family's name. We've endured countless attacks before. But this crosses a line." Her words carried a different kind of force. Where Trump was raw and explosive, Ivanka was precise and deliberate. She spoke as though protecting something fragile yet priceless. Her gaze locked on the host, daring him to push harder. For an instant, their defense looked to hold. The room hummed with mixed reactions. Some nodded, believing the charges were nothing more than another political trick. Others whispered nervously among themselves, doubt creeping in unspoken. Trump, feeling the tension, doubled back. His voice boomed once more as he leaned back boldly. "Crockett has no credibility. Everybody knows it. She is desperate for headlines and will say anything, absolutely anything, to get noticed. This so-called evidence, fake, weak, pathetic. And honestly, it doesn't deserve this stage." In the spotlight of the studio lights, beads of sweat shone on his forehead, fists gripping the armrests, chest heaving in rage. He was feral, looking, yet trapped. Ivanka leaned forward, putting a hand on his arm for a moment before turning to speak to the crowd again. "Not about politics, about family, loyalty, defending the people you care about. To bring Barron into this." She cut off, her tone growing harder. "Cruel below anyone who says they care about truth." The audience shifted, caught between empathy and distrust. The Trumps were not only refuting the allegations, they were accusing Jasmine Crockett of deceit. For a moment, their plan appeared to be succeeding. The host squirmed uncomfortably, eyes darting to his papers as if he questioned whether he'd passed beyond a precarious boundary. Cameras panned the room, framing faces of doubt, curiosity, and dismay. And then the focus fell upon Obama. He hadn't uttered a word throughout the exchange. He sat stock-still, hands clasped, eyes serene, observing. His silence was oppressive. It loomed in the studio more forcefully than Trump's bluster or Ivanka's serenity. The host, nearly frantic to dissipate the tension, turned to him for a response. Obama leaned forward a fraction of an inch. His expression revealed nothing. His voice was even unflappable. The audience involuntarily stood up straight. They had no idea. Barack Obama was on his way to deliver his speech, and when he did, the Trumps had no idea what whirlwind he was going to unleash. Obama's stillness seemed deliberate, as if he'd been poised to strike at just the right moment. The host, his gaze fluttering between the three of them in nervousness, turned to him at last. "President Obama, what is your response?" Obama leaned forward slowly, intentionally. The action in itself drew the audience in closer, automatically sensing that the discussion was about to take a different turn. His gaze settled first on Ivanka. His voice was calm, deliberate, and sharp. "Ivanka," he started, "your position in your father's White House was unprecedented in our times. Your impact wasn't symbolic. It was direct, powerful, and actual. You weren't merely spectating from the sidelines. You impacted decisions." The room moved, whispers shattering the quiet. Ivanka sat up straight in her seat, her well-coiffed demeanor beginning to crumble under the pressure of his words. Obama's voice never increased, but every sentence had more power than any yell. "That is why these accusations aren't just about family. They're political. They include you. They include decisions that impacted a whole country." He stopped, the silence engulfing the room. Ivanka pursed her lips, her eyes darting quickly toward her father before refocusing on Obama. Trump leaned forward, poised to jump in, but Obama was not yet done. Now his eyes focused on Trump. Their eyes met, the tension of years of competition hanging in the air. "Donald," Obama stated assertively, "villainizing Jasmine Crockett's history won't alter facts on the table. Questioning her doesn't provide answers to questions being asked. If all this is untrue, there is one way to resolve it. Bring light, bring transparency." The words echoed through the studio. Trump's jaw clenched face stone. The crowd leaned forward, something massive in the air. Obama paused for a breath, then let fly with the line that would explode the room. Prove me wrong. With a DNA test. The room exploded with gasps. The host stood paralyzed, mouth agape in shock, even the crew off. Camara looked like they'd been hit by a sledgehammer. Obama reclined slightly, his face serene, too serene, like a man who had waited decades for this moment. Trump's knuckles whitened as he clutched the chair. Ivanka swiveled her head toward Obama, her face red with fury. The studio was charged, as if lightning had struck across the stage. The crowd understood in that moment. This was not just a debate. This was not just politics. Obama had turned it personal. And his call to action wasn't conjecture. It was explicit, inescapable, impossible to avoid. Prove me wrong with a DNA test. The line hung in every ear, trapping viewers at home and stunning the live crowd into immobility. Obama didn't smile. He didn't smirk. He just let the words linger in the air like a knife. Trump took a deep breath, his anger unleashing. He started forward, voice booming like a cannon. Why must I prove anything? Why? Everybody knows what this is. This is an admission. An admission that there is truth to these vile, preposterous lies. Barack, you have no evidence. None. So why insist on something like this? Because it is a stunt. A pathetic stunt to smear me, my family, and my son. Gasps spread again across the audience. Trump's voice boomed through every nook of the studio, his finger pointing at the air, his entire body quivering with anger. He wasn't just reacting. He was attempting to drown out the cold, precise blow Obama had just landed. But before the sound of his rage could dissipate, Ivanka leaned forward. Her cheeks were white, her polished tone slightly cracking. Though her words stung sharp, "This isn't about truth," she stated firmly, her voice shaking just below the surface. "This is about humiliation. This has nothing to do with politics," Ivanka declared, her tone piercing the tension. Firm but contained, this is about defending our family's good name, about preventing falsehoods that never should have been uttered. To even involve Barron in this, it is cruel. It is beneath anyone who says they're concerned for the truth. Her gaze scanned the crowd, seeking comprehension. Some nodded, their faces visibly shaken. Others hushed uncertainly, caught between her words and the pressure of Obama's implied challenge. Trump slammed his fist down on the armrest once more. "This is politics, pure and simple," he bellowed. "They can't defeat us on success. They can't defeat us on leadership, so now they pull our family into it. It is vile. It shows that they'll do anything." His words heated up the studio. Even the host seemed shaken, darting his eyes between the guests, adjusting notes, unsure if he should break in. Then, in contrast to Trump's bluster and Ivanka's chill denial, Obama relaxed slightly back. Fists clenched, face unchanging, he allowed the tempest to rage on around him before answering in his measured, even voice. "Denying a simple DNA test doesn't put an end to it," he spoke softly, but the microphone amplified the words crisply across the room. "It doesn't cancel out the questions. It only creates more. This is not about embarrassing somebody. This isn't about politics. It is about the truth, and the American people are entitled to it." The crowd responded in seconds. Some clapped. Others groaned in horror. The line was drawn, but the power of Obama's words was unequivocal. Trump shook his head hard, brushing the challenge away with his hand. No, you don't get to spin this. You don't get to ask me for anything. I don't have to establish what everybody already understands. I am not playing this game." But Obama's eye kept hold, unwavering. His silence now more forcefully asserted than Trump's shouting. The camera panned across Ivanka. Her expression hardened, composure for a moment wavering. She spoke softly and quickly into her father's ear, not picked up by the microphone. Trump nodded, chest straining, jaw tight. The tension in the studio became palpable. The host coughed, attempting to relieve the pressure, but Obama got in first. "This is not about games, Donald," he said. "It is about truth, If there is nothing to hide, why be afraid of the truth? The words had the impact of a sledgehammer. Trump slumped back in his chair, lips clamped in a thin line, heavy breathing. Ivanka's eyes danced away from the camera and the crowd. The room was still, all the spectators suspended in the standoff. The confrontation had transcended words. It was no longer who yelled the loudest. It was now who the people would trust. The bold defiance of Trump and Ivanka, or the soft, unbreakable opposition of Obama. The studio itself weighed more. The lights still blazed. The cameras still rolled, but now something intangible weighed upon the chest of everyone. Obama's opposition hung in the air like smoke, unavoidable to notice, unremovable. Trump sat stiff, face still red, jaw clenched, chest heaving and falling as if repressing another explosion. Ivanka kept her cool, but her eyes gave her away, flashing for an instant at the crowd, then at her father, mentally weighing the value of this moment. And Obama? He remained calm, unmoving. His words had already landed now. He did nothing. And the silence worked for him. Every second that passed without a response made the challenge louder in everyone's minds. The host, trying to regain control, cleared his throat. "So where does this leave us?" he asked, voice uneven. "Is this just political theater, or is there a real step forward?" Trump jerked his head to the host, eyes burning with anger. "It leaves us where we've always been, under siege, beset by people who can't endure our strength, our prosperity, our leadership. These falsehoods are weapons, nothing more, and we will not yield." The crowd responded in cheers and groans. There were two sides to the room. Some yelled out, "That is right." Others grumbled under their breath, "Why not just take the test?" Ivanka intervened, her tone softer but no less resolute. "My father isn't obligated to provide anyone evidence of who he is or who we are. Our family shouldn't be treated to circus-style demands, particularly those that are founded on lies. To even consider this gives it more credibility than it warrants." The cameras panned over the crowd. Some nodded, touched by her calm repudiation. Others mumbled, undecided, the seed of doubt already sown. Obama stepped forward at last, leaning forward. His voice was still calm, but it had weight behind it that cut through all the whispers in the room. "No one is coercing you, Donald. No one is coercing you, Ivanka. But listen to me clearly. Not taking a simple test doesn't stifle these rumors. It fuels them. And the more you resist, the louder they become." Gasps, applause, and murmurs erupted simultaneously. The tension in the studio was palpable, as if the air itself might snap. Trump scowled at Obama, but for the first time, he didn't retort right away. His lips compressed into a thin line, his own silence more eloquent than any words. Ivanka's eyes darted downwards for an instant, then upwards again, carefully expressionless. Her clenched fists in her lap betrayed the tension she was feeling, even as she struggled to keep it together. The host coughed, obviously anxious to get things rolling. "Well," he said guardedly, "the challenge is now on the table. If it will be accepted remains to be seen." The cameras cut across the studio, first to Trump's icy stare, then to Ivanka's wary poise, and lastly to Obama's tranquil, unreadable face. Three faces, three expressions, all caught up in the same charged instant. The broadcast closed without conclusion. No deal, no test. Only questions lingering in the air, now property of the public. Was this a further smear designed to take down the Trumps? Or was Obama pushing them into a corner because he knew there was more to be revealed? The truth hung suspended, like a storm cloud ready to break. And thus the night ended with one question resonating around the country, unanswered, unforgettable. What do you think? The tale isn't finished. It is only just getting started. Comment below and the debate starts. What are your thoughts on this explosive moment? Did Obama's challenge pin the Trumps in a corner, or was it just another political stunt? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more behind the scenes stories everyone's buzzing about. The debate is only just getting started. Be a part of it.